represent Distributech 2023, one of the sponsors of these interviews, and these are interviews with thought leaders from around North America and the globe. Our sponsors are H2 Scan. H2 Scan is the leading sensor manufacturer for hydrogen sensing in a lot of different applications, in transformers, in battery room safety, in processes in safety, in industrial, and in the future hydrogen economy. So I want to thank our sponsors, and I want to thank all of our guests, and I hope you enjoy this interview. Our next guest is John Gounaris with G&W Electric, and John, thank you for joining
Thanks,
me.
Alan. Appreciate it.
We're going to have a good time talking about some issues, because as we've been chatting before we got onto the interview, now I have about 10 more questions I'm going to ask you that I didn't give you up front.
At least the couches are comfortable,
aren't they?
So that's good.
I know.
We're at a trade show, so this is pretty valuable.
We didn't spare any expense for our guests. First thing I want to ask you, tell me about your background in the utility industry. How long have you been in it, and how did you get in it?
Yeah, so I started off, it's been a long time since I've been in the industry, about 22, 23 years. And I answered an ad in a newspaper for a role at G&W Electric, if you remember when jobs were posted in the newspaper. Yes, what's a newspaper, right? What's the help wanted section? Yeah, so I responded to an ad for a role at G&W Electric, and at the time, the utility business was stable, it was consistent year over year, and the grid was pretty reliable, and things worked more or less the way they had worked for decades. And I stayed in this business because it was very clear, even early on, that there was going to be a lot of changes happening in this industry. And we're in the middle of it right now. I mean, Distributech is a perfect example of how much change is happening in this industry, and this has become, in my opinion, one of the most dynamic and interesting industries out there right now. It's got a lot of unique technology. We're actually solving problems that impact real people's lives. There's a lot of purpose in that. And that's what's happened within my 20+ year career in the industry, and most of that being spent with G&W Electric.
I think that's because you just hit on a point that we usually get to later, but staffing shortages are an issue, and where this industry being staid and kind of stable, electrical engineers, most people engineering didn't want to come into the utility industry unless they were that kind of thing. Well, now we're making the world a better place for people.
That's right.
We're now, believe it or not, the utility industry is exciting and challenging times. These are great times to be in the industry, whether we're supplying the industry or in the utility. We'll get more about that. Yeah. G&W, your role there and what you do now, and a little bit about G&W overall.
Yeah, so today I'm the Vice President of Marketing for G&W Electric, and my team really does three major things for our company. The first thing is it listens to the market. It tries to understand what problems are out there, what problems that we think we're capable of solving for the industry. We try and influence and direct our organization to execute on those problems. And then we tell the world about all the cool solutions and products that we have, right? So we're listening, we're trying to influence, and then we talk to the market about what we do. And I lead the team that does that. Excellent. And G&W Electric has been around for a long time. It's a family-owned company. We're privately held, proudly so. We've been in business for 117 years. I think this is 117 years. Privately held the whole time. And we have been a US-based manufacturer for that whole time. We are a global company today. We have manufacturing facilities in the US and Canada and Mexico and Shanghai and in Italy. And we're a manufacturer of utility products as well as C&I market as well. But we're known for medium voltage switches. We make system protection devices. We make cable accessories for utility applications. We do distribution automation software. We make sensors. We are, so we're in a lot of different products, and we're in a lot of different markets, and we are become a very known entity within the utility market because of our long history.
Known and trusted.
Yeah, I mean,
in the industry. But before you go on, I want you to. You said we listen.
Yes.
What do you hear? What are the issues that the utilities are dealing with? Because the market-driven companies must know what's changing in the market. So what do you hear when you listen?
So it's changed quite a bit since I first started.
Yeah, I'd say
right?
so.
So it's really the major trends that we're seeing today is the need to harden, to smarten, and to green the grid. It's those themes.
That's almost oxymoronic. To harden and green and smarten. I mean, it really is. These are some incredible challenges the utility industry is facing.
And there's more to it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
you know, the hardening part is pretty straightforward and relatively easy to understand. It's electric reliability and resiliency has taken quite a hit, particularly in the U.S. over the last, since my whole career. And there's a need to improve that, right? While simultaneously, the need to improve reliability and resiliency, we have to find a way to green the grid through, engineering new components and new technology that reduce their environmental impact, on our society. But it's more than that. We have to green the way electric power is being generated. So that's a lot of renewables, right? So that's wind, that's solar. And what that drives is a decentralization of generation. So you have the need to harden the grid, you have the need to green the grid through greener components and greener generation. Well, really the only way that you can accomplish that is by making equipment that's smarter, right? So that's how those three components kind of work together. But there's some additional challenges there that we really hear from customers. That's fine. The solutions to this is basically engineering a lot of cool stuff. Right? But that cool stuff has to get integrated onto the existing grid, right? You got to remember that we don't just get to build a brand new grid that operates in parallel with the existing grid. We have to install and operate all this new cool stuff on the existing grid. And perhaps this is the most important aspect of it all. This grid that we have developed, it's, some say, the most complex machine that humankind has ever made. And the output of it is perhaps the most important commodity that we have in modern life, which is electric power. Right. And it's really important that we all remember that electric power must be available to everyone in our society at a low cost because everyone needs it. So you can make the coolest thing in the world, but you have to be able to install it on our existing grid, and it needs to provide enough efficiency, cost effectiveness, that it doesn't increase the cost of electric power to the point where people in our society can't afford electric power anymore, right? So there's an element of integration and there's an element of being cost effective that's really, really important. It's not all just about new technology. So that's what the market is telling us, and it's really important for manufacturers like G&W Electric to listen to our customers. Let's focus on the problems that our utility partners are most focused on today, and remember that equipment has to be installed on today's grid, and it has to be cost effective in how it's produced.
One of the other problems that we're seeing, and I want you to comment on this, is we've been stable in the power demand for a long time in the United States. Suddenly we've got a hockey stick, and I was just talking to somebody that said that I think it's Bloomberg is now predicting that whatever their projections were for EV adoption, they're now saying it's 2.4 to 2.6x that they were wrong. That's going to change. So it's not just that it's all of that, it's also all of this. The hockey stick have changed. So how do you advise your customers? How do you help them manage that, the current grid, adapt to it, harden it, greener, and oh, by the way, decarbonization. Yes. Get rid of all of the fossil fuels, right? Yes. And oh, by the way, the wind and the sun, the wind doesn't always blow, sun doesn't always shine. You got a lot of dynamics that are happening right now within the utility industry. So how do you help from being another one of those negative dynamics that says, oh my gosh, everybody is giving me their solution, but it's not considering where we are and where we're going?
Well, I think that's, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. So it's really important to view the relationship between utility and manufacturer as a partnership, right? So you need to sit down together You need to identify a problem where the two of you can really sit down and work together and create a solution that effectively solves that problem. And we need to multiply that hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of times. And each interaction between utility and manufacturer will help us get one step closer to ultimately transitioning this grid to that decentralized future and considerably more generation on the grid, and handling all of these multiple nodes of generation that we think are going to exist all over the country. It's through these listening interactions and understanding what all the challenges are and working together to create products that not only are going to solve that problem, but then you are able to show the rest of the utility market how this product can solve your own problems, right? So it's really that power of listening that I think is central for manufacturers and utilities coming together to solve problems.
Right. One of the other problems that we have, everybody's got staffing shortages, right? And whether you're talking about tradespeople or you're talking about engineers or whatever, but everybody's dealing with it. So part of the good news is that people now are looking at our industry as a little bit more meaningful, right? Because that's what the next generation wants. And when I say next generation,
there's a lot of purpose to what we do.
And they're typically, it was come in, retire from the industry, and everything's great. Now it's a matter of come in and be a change agent for what's good for the world.
Right.
That's a great attraction that we have. We still have a hard time getting people. How does G&W deal with that?
Well, I think we're our central message is that we serve an industry that is core to our life. Right? It's electric power used to be something that was just kind of taken for granted, and I think through a lot of what's just being reported in the media about it's becoming even more important, and we're also seeing that there's a lot of disruptions to electric power. Right? I mean, the grid's not as reliable as it used to be 20 years ago. So those disruptions are driving people to pay more attention to it. The whole decarbonization effort is drawing a lot of attention to it. And I think we put that message out in front of our efforts to bring people in. And it's very effective in getting people to pay attention not only to G&W, but just our industry in general, right? And you have an opportunity to not only have a rewarding career at our company, but you also have an opportunity to really benefit the planet and our society. So we have to be very proactive, and we are very proactive in putting that message out there, and it resonates. Right? It resonates.
But what is your message here at Distributech that is different than your message was, say, at IEEE PES-T&D last year?
Oh, well, it's for us. There has been an evolution of what G&W was over the years. So we've been known primarily as an equipment manufacturer, right? We make a switch, we make a termination, right? And what we're realizing is that our customers are more interested in a manufacturer that provides solutions, right? So it's an integration of different components coming together. And it's this integration of products to solve a specific problem. So it's that integration piece, which has a lot of different aspects to it, that we are evolving as a company. So we're not just a manufacturer of switches. We're a manufacturer of switches, but I can integrate different types of relaying, different types of sensors, different types of custom programming that creates a unique solution that I have integrated at my factory, that I have fully tested in front of my customer, that I am able to fully test that equipment before it's energized out on the system. I can do all of that under the G&W umbrella and give customers not only a product that solves a specific problem, but also one that's fully tested and gives customers confidence that it's going to work the way it's intended to. So it's really about the transition from being an equipment manufacturer to being a solutions provider. And that's an evolution that the company has been down for several years now. And as each Distributech comes along, it's more and more of that message. So if you go to our booth today, The central piece of it is our laser distribution automation solution, which is connecting multiple pieces of equipment in a kind of grid sort of format, in a loop format. And it shows how distribution automation can be realized with all these different pieces of equipment working together. We're also offering customers an opportunity to learn about microgrids. We've just recently installed what we consider to be a state-of-the-art, best-in-class microgrid for our headquarters in Bolingbrook, Illinois, which is near Chicago. And we've learned a tremendous amount about how to integrate different systems, different components, much of which are not G&W equipment, and be able to do this in such a way that's fully tested, very reliable, with a lot of unique engineering solutions built in. So it's really the transition from just equipment supplier to solutions is really what we're highlighting.
Excellent, good. I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We're on an airplane, we're at 35,000 feet,
Yeah.
and we've talked about all of this, and now we're done with it. And
Yeah.
I say, you know, you're a thought leader, you've been in the industry a long time, you're with a leading, used to be manufacturer, leading solutions provider in the industry. What does it look like 10 years from now? And we've seen tremendous pressure to change, and we're in the midst of it now. Let's assume we do it well.
Yeah.
We handle the supply chain issues, we handle the demand curve issues. Now we have EV adoption, we've got a lot of things. What do you think some of the challenges are going to be 10 years from now?
So I think you're going to see a lot of unique technologies being developed, the cool toys, right? I think we're going to be effective in adding, I think we're going to be very effective in greening the grid, both from an equipment point of view as well as adding distributed generation. I think we're going to be very successful there. And I think we're also going to be very successful in adding intelligence to the grid. Lots of sensors, lots of different relays and controls. The problem that I see is that, and we are talking about it today, but I think what's going to end up happening is there's so much data.
Yeah, exactly.
Is going to be coming at these utilities that unless we make a step change improvement in our ability to analyze and act on that data, we're going to be paralyzed by it. So again, it's all about adding, you can add all these cool toys, but they all have to integrate, work together, and be meaningful towards solving a problem. So we need to make a lot of advancements in that area. And for our own part, I think what's going to become important is the ability to integrate different pieces of technology together. Manufacturers need to be flexible in that regard because one piece of technology may not work for all utilities, right? So you need to be able to offer solutions that take different components, integrate them together in such a way where it solves that specific problem, but it's a solution. It's something that completely works together, it's tested, it's got the confidence that the utility can install that solution and it will work. So I think that's key. Like big data is going to be a problem that the utilities have to solve, but manufacturers need to help them by being flexible, agnostic, and really good at being integrating different technologies together.
Excellent. John, thank you so much. It's been a great conversation.
Appreciate it.
Enjoyed
Thank you.
it. This has been an APC Technologies production, and we thank you for joining us. Our sponsors have been H2 Scan and Distributech. And of course, the communities of APC Technologies, which is Transform Technology, Power Systems Technology, Green Energy Technology, and Women in Power Systems. So thank you.